In this installment, though, playoffs are here, and we got two great matchups. Seattle Seahawks going up against the San Francisco 49ers, and the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Los Angeles Chargers. Let's get into Wild Card Weekend. Hey, yo! Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef D, and I'm here to give you the winning ingredients for our Wild Card Weekend Saturday slate. Two crucial games here. The Seahawks somehow got into the playoffs, and now they're going up against the 49ers. And we also have the Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence battle here between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Los Angeles Chargers. But before I deep dive into this very, very fun two-day slate, guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetJetsD. Don't forget about that TikTok at Chef_D91. And don't forget about the Patreon. It's going to be super crucial to be locked into the Patreon. We got playoff predictions coming up, Super Bowl predictions, and our bets for the playoffs are going to be in that Patreon. You do not want to miss out. Please sign up for that as well. The NFL did not waste a single second. As soon as that Lions-Packers game wrapped up, we had our slate posted within minutes, okay? Within minutes. And you got this very, very crazy scenario here. Seattle wins, okay? They beat the LA Rams. They needed the Lions to win their game against the Packers. And guess what happens? It actually happens. The Lions beat the Green Bay Packers, send Aaron Rodgers home packing. Absolutely insane. So we're going to get into this slate here. And we got some very, very interesting matchups starting off with this Saturday slate. And we're going to start off at the quarterback position, all right, here. Quarterback position for the Saturday slate. We're going to go all the way to the top. Justin Herbert. Don't be shy of going towards him in this matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a very young team in their very first playoff game here. This is going to be a huge factor. Obviously, this is a big game for Justin Herbert as well, but they have more veterans on that side of the football for the LA Chargers, all right? Justin Herbert coming here at $6,600 in salary. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to that quarterback position, these Jacksonville Jaguars are 16th overall, 22nd in the red zone, all right? So they're allowing about 250 yards passing, 1.4 TDs, all right? So with the weapons of the LA Chargers, we know how Brandon Staley is gung-ho, and he's going to go for it in some similar situations at fourth down. And so Justin Herbert's going to have a lot of opportunity to throw this football against a secondary where they can take advantage of, all right? I believe they played earlier this season. Let's see how Justin Herbert did in that game. Let's see. In the week 3, Justin Herbert had 14.58 fantasy points in that previous matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was an embarrassment. This game can be for redemption for these LA Chargers. So look towards Justin Herbert to have a bounce back game in his first playoff appearance. Trevor Lawrence on the other side of the ball. He's coming into his first playoff game against these LA Chargers. They dominated them earlier in the season. Now in this game here, had a tough matchup against Tennessee. Didn't really get things going, and they have around 2 to 3 bad performances in a row from these Jacksonville Jaguars when they were red hot in week 15, 14, 12, and 10. All right, things have cooled down for the Jacksonville Jaguars as of late. All right, so if we're looking at Trevor Lawrence, fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks, these LA Chargers, we're going to go to that quarterback position right there. The Chargers are currently ranked third overall and first, allowing 171 passing yards, 0.6 TDs a game. So the Chargers, against opposing quarterbacks, they have been pretty rock solid here. The weakness of the Chargers, we'll get to that very soon, but that's going to be at the running back position, okay? So, Trevor Lawrence, hey, do you see him having another poor performance or middling performance in this 2-game slate? Yes, you could. all right, especially of how the Chargers got embarrassed in that first particular game. They're going to check that tape there and fix some things going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars the second time. Anytime you see a team get blown out by over 20 points, obviously they're going to be coming ready for that next meeting. So Trevor Lawrence might be my third quarterback option in this Saturday slate. Let's continue to go down low here. Next guy we got is Geno Smith. All right, I think there is a reason here that he is in the playoffs. Okay, the fact that Aaron Rodgers is out, the fact that Seattle beat the Rams, and he goes on television talking about, hey, Lions, let's go. We need you to win. And it actually happens. Aaron Rodgers loses to the Lions in Lambeau. That is absolutely insane. Geno Smith might be a little hot in this game, all right? Might be hot. You think that this is a bad matchup, but if we dig a little deeper, I prefer Geno Smith over rookie quarterback here in the last pick of the draft in Brock Purdy. I'd rather have Geno Smith over him in this first playoff game. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him in this game. Yes, the 49ers have been rolling, but the playoffs are a different animal, and we're talking about a veteran coach here in Pete Carroll. So, Geno Smith here. If we're looking at fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks, let's check out what the 49ers have been giving up. And they haven't been that great if you want to look at numbers. 19th overall, 14th in the red zone, almost 300 yards passing allowed to opposing quarterbacks, and about 2 TDs a game to opposing quarterbacks. I think this is the sneaky play of Saturday. That's going to be Geno Smith in this Saturday slate. I love him at 5,600. All the eyes are going to be on Herbert and Lawrence, the guy that can be under radar here, super motivated, obviously most improved player. Everything is going well for Geno Smith. Over 4,000 yards. He looks smooth. Everything is going well. Give me Geno Smith at this cheap price here on this Saturday slate. I love him at 5,600. All right. Brock Purdy, I gave you my reasoning of why I don't like him in this situation. He's been solid leading up to this. They have been undefeated since he started. But now things get a little bit different here. This is playoff football we're talking about here. And I do not want to rely on Brock Purdy in this situation, all right? Yes, he has the running game. That's one of the weaknesses of the Seattle Seahawks. So that's where we might lean towards there for the San Francisco 49ers. If I'm looking at a QB, I prefer Geno and Herbert. All right, and Lawrence over Brock Purdy. All right, let's go into the running backs. Next up, we have the running backs for this Saturday slate. And here we're going to start at the top with Christian McCaffrey. All right, the bread and butter for the San Francisco 49ers. Their shining star is the reason why they brought him over. And since they have been unstoppable. All right, Christian McCaffrey getting the double-digit rushing attempts. He's helping in the receiving game as well. Everything looks great for the San Francisco 49ers here. And let's look at the matchup. Fantasy points allowed to opposing running backs. The weakness of the Seattle Seahawks is stopping the run. So let's see how they have been doing the past few weeks. All right. They are 25th overall, 29th in the red zone, allowing 113 yards, 4.5 yards a carry. All right. So Pete Carroll in this game, he knows that they need to stop the run, all right? That's going to be absolutely essential. You want to force Brock Purdy to throw the football in this game, all right? They're going to make it very, very difficult. I can see that happening from the Seattle Seahawks. It's going to be a very tough and rugged game here. So, but despite that scenario, we get it. We understand it. Christian McCaffrey is still going to see a high volume, and he is super, super durable, definitely dynamic, and I can see him paying off his salary at $8,500. I would not shy away from him in this game environment because this is the biggest hole that the San Francisco 49ers can take advantage of. So we're going to lean towards Christian McCaffrey. If it's not working with him running the football, he's going to get the ball receiving wise as well. A couple screens. They're going to get very creative with Christian McCaffrey, getting him the football. Not to mention him, they will also look at Eli Mitchell. Eli Mitchell is back and healthy. if this running game is going fluidly, they're going to have a two-headed monster here between McCaffrey and Mitchell. If you want a salary save type of running back, Eli Mitchell can be your guy at $4,700 in salary, all right? Austin Eckler going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's look at how the Jaguars have been doing as of late. 20th overall, 23rd in the red zone, 82 yards rushing, and 4 yards a carry. That's what they are giving up the past couple weeks. So Austin Eckler is in a great spot here going up against the Jaguars. Let's see how he did earlier in the season, week 3. We had only 13 fantasy points. So it was a poor performance across the board for these LA Chargers. The one bright spot from Eckler, he did see 8 receptions on 8 targets. So you always know he's going to get work. Receiving wise, the rushing was a little bit inefficient. I expect both of those two things to ramp up in this playoff game against Jaguars this time. All right. So Austin Eckler at 8,100 is a like. Travis Etienne at 6,000. All these running backs are in very solid spots here. So it's going to be hard to decipher which one is going to actually pop off here. So let's see Travis Etienne against the LA Chargers. I think they've been pretty solid as of late here. So there's a little bit of, oh, no. Despite the numbers, look at this. 13th overall, 10th in the red zone. But they are giving up 110 rushing yards a game, 5.4 yards a carry. So we're going to bump up Travis Etienne here. If Trevor Lawrence struggles, they can rely on his best buddy here in Etienne to move the chains. If he can be efficient running the football, that's going to bode well for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he has a very good matchup coming off a poor performance against the Tennessee Titans. I think he bounces back in this game at $6,000 in salary. A lot of people are going to pay up for McCaffrey, for Austin Eckler, and Travis Etienne is going to fly under the radar. And technically, this matchup, where the Chargers are giving up 5.4 yards a carry, 110 yards a game, Etienne is very, very sneaky at 6K. All right. The other running backs we're going to look at, we have Kenneth Walker. This is going to be a tough matchup for him, but I do have to mention him. This is their workhorse. As you can see, the past 3 games, over 20 touches. So you're going to get a high volume from Kenneth Walker. Hopefully, maybe in the third or fourth quarters, things can wear off going up against this team. But if we're looking at numbers, fantasy points allowed to running backs, the San Francisco 49ers are 5th and 3rd, all right, in the league. 67 yards total, 3.6 yards a carry. So this is technically not a good matchup. If they're going to have to win, it's going to have to be on the shoulders of Geno Smith. If that can open up, maybe Kenneth Walker later, like I said, can open up some running lanes. But they're not going to shy away from running the football. They're going to consistently hit you with Kenneth Walker. So I expect him, if you go with Kenneth Walker, to pay off in a later part of that game. So Kenneth Walker can be viable at 5,900. If we're looking at even cheaper guys down low, maybe Joshua Kelly gets a touchdown coming in for Austin Eckler. That can happen. If we're looking even lower, I don't expect anyone else here. Jermichael Hasty here is the backup for Travis Etienne, but that would have to be a substitution or injury for him to pay off salary. So the cheapest I would go would be Joshua Kelly at $5,000 in salary. Let's move on to the wide receivers. On to the wide receivers here, and we're going to start off at the top, obviously, with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. We'll talk about that tandem. We're going to go in groups here for this particular wide receiver section. All right, Keenan Allen is going to be huge at $7,000 in salary if there is further news on Mike Williams. All right, so Mike Williams is questionable. He did get injured in that game against Denver, a back contusion. But the positive news is that Brandon Staley expects him to practice at some point in time during this week. So we want to pay attention to him. All right, Mike Williams is huge for deep routes. Obviously, it's going to bode well for that whole entire offense if they have all their weapons on the field. And that's what they want to have against the Jacksonville Jaguars offense to compete with them, okay? So Mike Williams, watch out for news on him. Make sure he is going to be fine for this game on Saturday, all right? But currently it is a back contusion. If he is out, then Keenan Allen at 7,000 becomes almost a lock. He's going to see double-digit targets, 100%. As you can see, he's been pretty good the past 5 weeks. All double-digit fantasy performances. And look at the targets, 11, 6, 14, 9, and 14 the past 5 weeks. Keenan Allen is looking like his old self. So love him at that price of $7,000 in salary. If we're looking even deeper at the wide receiver core for the Los Angeles Chargers, we can look at let's see, is it Carter? We got Carter and we got Joshua Palmer here. So anything happens to Mike Williams, you can look towards these guys. Joshua Palmer stepped up earlier in the season when they had injuries, and he's emerged as a very solid number 3. As you can see, has 72 receptions, 769 yards, okay? So Joshua Palmer can be a sleeper at the wide receiver position if injury happens, and even if they're all healthy. And then if you want to dig even deeper, DeAndre Carter here and there gets targets from this offense from Justin Herbert, all right? He spreads the ball all around, all right? So he'll focus in on Keenan. That's the main guy, the target getter. Everyone else gets spread the ball, and in red zone areas, Mike Williams is the touchdown getter, okay? So let's continue on. Let's look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, some of the guys we can look at here. Let's look at fantasy points allowed to wide receivers on both sides for that particular game. So the reason why I started off with the Chargers, these Jacksonville Jaguars, as of late, where are they right now? They're 13th overall, 26th in the red zone. Like I explained before, they're giving up TDs in that red zone. That's why I like the Chargers in this particular game, all right? On the other side, the Chargers are a little bit better against wide receivers. 11th overall and number 2 in the league in the red zone. That's because they're giving up more touchdowns from the running back. So they're a little bit bend don't break when it comes to wide receivers, but they're giving up touchdowns to the running backs in red zone areas, okay? So definitely be mindful of that. And guys, we can look at Christian Kirk came through last week. He got a touchdown in that game against Tennessee. He's their leading touchdown getter. Someone is going to get a high volume of targets. He's in a solid game script here, especially if we're going to lean towards the over in this game. Christian Kirk and Zay Jones are going to be guys we're going to look at here. 5,900, great salary for a guy that's going to see 7 to 10 targets in this game. So I like Christian Kirk at that price. Zay Jones has been a star this year, been a very solid, solidified number 2 wide receiver. He could emerge in this game if they tend to focus on Christian Kirk. All right, so let's see how Christian Kirk did in week 3 against these LA Chargers. If we're scrolling down, week 3, LA Chargers, he had 19 fantasy points, all right, and a touchdown. So he had a great game previously against the Chargers. You expect them to key in on him. So we can look at Zay Jones. And then Marvin Jones, their veteran, he's going to be the number 3 wide receiver for this offense. If you want to consider to punt the wide receiver, you say you have a flex guy, you want to look at one of the 3rd wide receivers, Marvin Jones could be that guy for you, all right? So Christian Kirk is solid. Zay Jones has been pretty well all season. And let's move on to the other wide receiver grouping that I do like for this Saturday slate, and that's going to be the Seattle Seahawks, all right? Super under-owned, and I have no problem going up and paying for both of these guys in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, all right? Metcalf has had 2 bad performances the past 2 weeks, but other than that, he's been very good this year, getting double-digit fantasy points per game. And then Tyler Lockett, the number 2 in this, he's averaging even more fantasy points. That's because he gets more of the touchdowns from Geno Smith. So either or, I like both of these guys. If you, obviously, this is a 2-game slate, you can go with both of these wide receivers. Double stack them with Geno Smith. It's going to be super low owned because people are expecting the 49ers to foot stomp these Seattle Seahawks, but this is a good matchup for the Seattle Seahawks. Let's look at fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. 29th and 26th overall. 192 yards, almost 200 yards to wide receivers. Split that between Lockett and DK Metcalf in about 1.6 touchdowns a game. We found a gem here. Give me Tyler Lockett. Give me DK Metcalf in our lineups. I love both of these guys at their price at 6,200 and 6,000 flat. All right, like both of those guys. No need to go past anyone else in their wide receiver core. I think Marquise Goodwin is injured. If we're looking at anyone else in this offense, we'll go towards their tight ends. All right. So San Francisco wide receivers that we will look at and consider. Deebo Samuel's back. They're most likely going to utilize him in multiple facets. So you're going to get a volume from Deebo Samuel in this game, all right? Rushing and receiving wise. So at 5,700, that's why he's at a nice price here. Very cheap to get Deebo Samuel. I have no problem going towards him and Brandon Ayuk. It's pretty much been the George Kittle show, but Brandon Ayuk has had a very solid year. He broke out in that game against the Raiders and then had a very solid volume of targets against Washington. So 2 good games, and the rest has been a little bit subpar, all right? The only guy that's been consistent in this 49ers offense, other than Christian McCaffrey, is their tight end in George Kittle. And we're going to get into the tight ends right now. Last but not least, we have the tight end position for this slate here. And we're going to go to the top, and I've talked about it. George Kittle has been a man on a mission. All right, the past 4 weeks, this man has 7 touchdowns. All right, Brock Purdy loves him some George Kittle. It's been a match made in heaven. He's had a renaissance year, finishing the year very strong with Brock Purdy throwing him the football. So George Kittle could be a lock at tight end, all right? He definitely could be a lock, and you can also go double tight end. So there's other matchups here that are very good. We already got a great connection between Purdy and George Kittle. Let's look at some other matchups here. Technically, Gerald Everett has the number 1 matchup on the board with fantasy points allowed to opposing tight ends. If we're looking at what the Jacksonville Jaguars are giving up, they're 26th overall, 23rd in the red zone, and that bodes well for Gerald Everett at 3,800, all right? He saw 3 for 5 for 8 yards and a touchdown. So he has 2 weeks in a row of a touchdown. So that's going to be good. Hopefully that can continue to go on into the playoffs. Hopefully we can get 3 touchdowns in 3 straight games for Gerald Everett, and a very good matchup here against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Love him at his price of 3,800. Evan Ingram has been a focal point of this offense all year long. They throw to their tight end position at over a 30% clip. That's why you got some great performances here from Evan Ingram. 21.3, 42.2, 14 fantasy points, 15, 12. He's been very solid all year long. Great decision coming over to Jacksonville Jaguars, and he has 73 receptions this year. So someone that's going to get a very solid value. If you prefer Evan Ingram, he's in a decent spot going up against the Chargers as well at 4,200, all right? The other guy we're going to look at for Seattle, that's going to be Noah Fant, all right? He's the more athletic tight end out of the grouping here. With the Seattle Seahawks, it can get ugly for that tight end position because they have 3 tight ends, all right? They got Tyler Mabry here. He had a touchdown a week ago or so. They also have Colby Parkinson. He factors in. He had a touchdown against the Jets. And then they also have Noah Fant. So they have 3 tight ends here. Trying to figure out which one of the 3. I would always lean in Noah Fant because he is more talented, but it can get ugly. And I think we have other better matchups here in this 2-game slate, and then trying to figure out the tight end for the Seattle Seahawks, okay? If we continue to go down low, Donald Parham, he's one of their big body tight ends, 6'7" type of frame, very huge. He usually gets targeted in the red zone area. That's why he'll come with a handful of catches each and every game. He can be very sneaky at 2,700 if you want to go away from Gerald Everett. Parham can be the guy to get a touchdown and spoil it for Gerald Everett as well. So that's the cheapest I would go for the tight end position. So thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Twitter at MetsNetsJetsD. And I'm going to be back with another video very soon. We still got the Sunday slate. We're going to have the Monday slate as well. We're going to have the bet video coming out, and we're going to have game preview. So everything is going to be all in popping for this playoff push here to finish out the NFL football season. Thank you guys, and peace out.